So, property investing in Ireland whilst living abroad. So there's no reason at all that anybody can't invest in Ireland who would like to make their money in euros. So some of the people who we're connected on social media might be Irish people living in Europe, but equally they might be not Irish people but living in Portugal. I spend part of the year in Portugal. So there's no problem at all with anybody investing in property in Ireland, either directly or indirectly. So what I mean by directly is, we can help people to find investments, raise finance if needed, etc. And indirectly, we investors' funds hand off for returns, fixed returns per annum, which can be paid every year or they can be paid at the end. The main reason somebody would choose to pay at the end is to save up a lump sum, and obviously it's taxed when you receive it. So they may have a year in which they're going to have less income tax payable, and they might want to save their returns until then. So when you think in terms of Irish property, don't just think in terms of Irish people. It's anyone really who wants the returns in euro. Now, there's no problem at all with somebody changing a different currency, but obviously we pay returns in euro, so we could change it when the time is favourable. It would give, there's lots of Brits, say, living in Ireland, living in Portugal and Spain, who are obviously British by birth, English by birth, but they are now spending euro in their retirement. So there's no problem at all in dealing with somebody like that. We put all our investments through a limited company, and so people have that structure and that safety, and they have a loan agreement, and they can earn 8 or 10% per annum on cash, which they probably weren't using anyway and had on notice deposit. So if you were someone who is starting to wind down, I suppose, what are the different options to earn an income while you're in your pensionable years, or maybe you're just gone to part-time work? I think hands-off investing is brilliant because of the fact that you don't have to deal with any tenants, and you also don't have the risk of property rising and falling. In Ireland, prices do rise and fall. I would say there's a bit less fluctuation in the UK in the types of properties that most landlords buy. So most landlords aren't buying £1 million houses in London. They're buying your bog standard 2 up, 2 down or 3-bed terrace in areas where there's plenty of employment, plenty of land tenants, plenty of rentals that will rent for 10 years plus. So there's a different kind of a landlord model. In Ireland, I suppose houses tend to be more expensive to start with, and so therefore there's more room for fluctuation if there are problems. Where if you invest money hands off with us, you don't have that concern. Even if the value of the property goes down, we have to pay the difference. We still have to pay you your fixed return. And also we're buying things in need of repair and adding value to them. So we're able to create equity, which means the loans are lower than what you would be getting, lower loan to value than what you'd be getting if you're buying things in walking condition. When you buy something in walking condition, what we mean is it's only worth what you're paying for. You're not going to be spending 5,000 and adding 30,000 to the value, which is the type of thing we aim to do. Generally, as a rule of thumb, if we're spending 10,000, we're adding 30,000 to the value of something. So we're able to multiply money in that way, but you just simply can't if you're buying them in good condition. The reason I suppose you can do that is badly presented or run down properties don't sell well. A lot of people don't want to get involved in doing the work. There's a huge lack of availability of labour, so now there's a more limited amount of people who are able to do the work. And that's the reason we're able to go in there. We obviously have a building team all the time now. We're able to go in there and we're able to add value, and we're able to have maybe brought something from paying 100,000 for spending 10 up to a value of 140. So we've more equity locked in. Now, if we were spending 100,000 on something, we'd only borrow 80,000 anyway, so it's 80% of the purchase price. So now we've 80,000 in against something that's worth 140. So you can see you've lower risk than if you buy something for 100,000 yourself, spend your 100,000 on it. You don't have any clearance if the values go down. Also, you have responsibility for tenants, maintenance, all of that type of thing, or voids, or you could go with council lets, which are quite secure, but obviously they're lower rates of return, and you are committed to those for that longer spend. We can do 3 years, sometimes we do even one-off projects with people hands off. We can do 3-year investments, 5-year investments, shorter term. They seem to be terms that people like because maybe they've children to put through college later on, or there's maybe a wedding coming up that maybe hoping to have the kids pay deposits for a house. So there's loads of different reasons people need their money back before that sort of 10-15 year time frame. So hopefully that gives you some ideas what you can do. And as I get towards my own retirement, I will do a bit of both. I'll do a bit of investing with younger, more energetic people, and I will also hold a couple of buy-to-lets, but I will do them on the council lets. So I have to buy them. I have to really have them debt-free, quite honestly, or there's no money to be made on that. As far as I'm concerned, if you have to pay a mortgage on them, and pay your income tax and pay your local property tax. Now the council paid the repairs. There's just very little in it. You're not going to be retiring on that kind of income. So if you do want retirement income, consider hands-off investing, or of course an odd flip. You could do them as projects without being too occupied all year. But I'm afraid it is becoming difficult to do just an odd flip here and there because labour is in enormous demand in the last 6 months in Ireland. Everyone seems to be renovating their house. Now, whether this is temporary or permanent remains to be seen, but at the moment it's really, really hard to find people to do jobs. So these are just a couple of options to fund a retirement. Euro is euro. It doesn't matter. It makes no point, say, for me to receive sterling or to receive dollars because there's a currency risk. But it doesn't matter whether you're French, Portuguese, English, living in Portugal, living in Spain. If you want to spend euros going out for lunch every day, then you need to be earning euros. And at least if you change money to euro once to invest it, you only have that currency risk once. Whereas if you're getting your rent in sterling every month, well, every month the rates are fluctuating, whereas you can sort of time it nicely if you're only changing it once to invest it, and then keep recycling that investment. So, I mean, where I spend my time in Portugal, even having 10,000 a year coming in would be actually substantial because things tend to be cheaper to do. People are outdoors more, there's lower living costs, so it's a brilliant way to fund a retirement without having the responsibility of tenants. So that's kind of for people in retirement already. Our advice might be different for people. I did another video there about what 3 units can do for you, so the advice would be slightly different for people who are younger and working towards retirement. Early retirement, I hope. So I hope that's useful. Thanks, guys. Catherine from Intelligent Property.